All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Brian here. This is going to be kind of a very special video. First time giving a stab at this, but something I want to do for a long time is have a guest on. And tonight we have a very special guest. This is Shane from Shane. Currently, his current channel, Shane Addicted to Pain. Please go check it out. But for people that don't know Shane, and unfortunately, I think he did delete some of the old videos, but he was one of the absolute first people to really chronicle a detox on YouTube. Absolutely was one of the first, maybe like one of the first. Like I really think that might be true, because I looked, and this is like 2015, 2016 when I was going through some rough times, and I was looking for some videos to relate to, and the only one I really found was Shane and Rockin' Roberta and Ryan Donnelly, but Ryan Donnelly never chronicled a detox. But so man, this guy has been through it. He knows it. He's a veteran, a Navy vet, proud Navy vet, and man, I'm just very very happy that he was able to join me today. So
yeah, well, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And yeah, like I said, we talked about it before, but man, I wish those videos were still up though, because you could have probably planted the flag of like I was the first guy to be sick on YouTube. And at the time, you were going through a methadone detox.
First one, because I mean, I was inspired to start my channel by obviously people like Ryan Donnelly and Rockin' Roberta, of course, but there was definitely other people that were out there that just seemed like they would do the first 5 days or the first 3 days and then disappear. You know what I mean? You couldn't find somebody that actually stuck with it.
Yeah.
So I think Ryan Donnelly and Rebecca and I that kind of stuck with it, and we're successful at the same time. Thank God. But yeah.
And just so everybody is clear, so it's clear that he chronicled he was detoxing off of methadone at the time, and you did every day for the first month, right? Just about. You did every day for the first month.
I think I started on like day 3. I started.
And then you did, I think, every day for the next month, and then it was pretty much like I think maybe like a weekly check-in after that or whatever. But
yeah,
very consistent.
And, I tried. It helped me a lot, man. You know what I mean? It was like selfishly, I think I was needing people to talk to that understood. You know what I mean? And I detoxed at home. I didn't, I tried. My mom brought me to the hospital. I tried to go into a detox center, but or actually the hospital, but they wouldn't take me, because the only way that they would take me, and I'll never forget it, the nurse was just in tears. Like, she wanted to help me so much. I felt bad. I really felt bad for her, but she's like, the only way that they'll take you upstairs is if you say you're suicidal.
Oh,
and I'm like, man, I can't do that. I can't even say those words.
Yeah,
because I'm not. I'm like, I'm here because I want help. Like, I love life. I want to live. Like, really live. You know what I mean? That's why I'm here, and I'm not. I don't care. I'm not gonna say that I'm suicidal. I'm just not gonna do that, because that's on my record, and everything else, and not just that, but just for the sake of, I just wouldn't say that.
Yeah, but I mean, if you can maybe share with the audience that doesn't know about it, as far as what methadone detox really is like, what the kind of the time schedule was like, kind of the general, how long was it for you? Because I don't know if people are aware of like, really how long it does take and how really brutal it is. And man, I always have mad respect for you for doing it at home. I honestly don't think I could have. I really don't think I could have. Because it's just from what I hear, it's basically like, if we're coming off of Kratom, it's like day 4, but for the next, literally next 35, 40 days. You know what I mean? It really does. It takes a while for it to let up on you.
It was probably, I mean, it was longer than that. I didn't feel quote unquote normal, I was still getting hit with withdrawal symptoms after a year, after a year coming off it. I jumped off 80 milligrams cold turkey, stupidly too.
That's what's crazy.
But I was just at the point, dude, I was just at that point where I was just like
nuts,
so fed up. And you hear people say this, like Brandon Novak, guy from Jackass, that's big into recovery now. It's been
Yeah.
Clean, Sober, Steve-O, people like that, you know, that have good recovery time. You'll hear them say that all the time. It's like, I was just to the point where I didn't care. Like, I was ready to do literally anything to
Yeah.
just be done with it, especially methadone, because you have the stigma behind methadone for one, which shouldn't bother me, but it does, if I'm being honest. You know what I mean? I'm human.
Yeah.
But going to that clinic every day and standing in line was, you know, people that, you know, some of them were people were like me that didn't want to be there and, you know, were taking their recovery seriously. But a lot of them were, you know, people that didn't have a job and the state was paying for the treatment, and they would go in and just kind of use it as a replacement for street drugs. And then they'd go out in the parking lot, and it was like the place to buy drugs is at the methadone clinic. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the whole time I was there, and even my nurses, you know, after having conversations with them, because, you know, I've been through quite a bit in my life and I'm pretty well spoken and intelligent, you know, and I would talk to them and they're just like,
Well,
I
allegedly.
don't know what you're doing here. Like, you don't belong here. And I'm like, well, I feel the same way. But it was a battle getting out of that place, man. Like, every time I would bring it up and say, like, I want to get out of here, like, I want to taper off the medication, they try to, you know, increase your dose.
Yeah.
They wanted your money. They didn't really want to let you go.
Did you really get that vibe from them?
Sorry, go ahead.
Did you really get that vibe from them that like they were kind of in on it? Like they were more than happy to just see you up at 200, just coming back every day?
Yep. Really? 100%. 100%. I went through 3 different counselors actually till I found one that was willing to fast, like kind of put me on like a fast taper, which was like a week long or something, which I came from 80 milligrams down to 0 in like a week or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
But that's the best I could get out of them, so that's what I did. But I've always said, and I always will say, like, withdrawal detox is like a 99 point, you know, it's 99% mental. And when you actually get to the point where you're just so sick and tired of being sick and tired, you hear that all the time too. Like, once you're there, man, like I used to say in my videos, like, this is a war, it's a battle, you know what I mean? And I just was so fed up, and I had my family support, I had time off from work, and I'm like, I just wanted it so bad, man. Like, I just made it a mission of mine, man. I'm like, I'm not gonna let it beat me. Like, I'm gonna beat this.
Well, it's easy to be sick and tired of being sick and tired on day 1, and maybe it's fighting on day 3.
No, I'm talking.
Listen, and then push through. You know, you got a rough, you know, day 7 and push through. But with methadone,
it took a long time.
It's pretty. Yeah, it's tough to carry that fight, to have that same motivation at day 45. I imagine it's got to be tough. You know, when you've kind of had it. But it sounds like you were absolutely motivated. Nothing was gonna stop you.
I was super motivated. I think making the videos on YouTube was like a huge part of that too. Like, I felt, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like,
kind of accountable.
Yeah. You know what I mean? There was people that were following me. There was kind of like, I felt there was people depending on me because there was other people that were getting clean by watching my videos. Yeah. I still talk to one of those people to this day that's still clean. Thank God. You know what I mean? And he got off methadone because of me. That's what he says. And I'm like, you know, it chokes me up to say it. But
that's wild.
So that was like really motivating for me.
Oh yeah, that's gotta be.
Like, not only am I gonna let this thing beat me, but I gotta show these people that it can be done now. You know? What I mean?
Yeah, and that definitely helped carry me through a lot early on too, especially early on in acutes. That I wanted to be able to make the video the next day that said I made it another day for sure.
Yeah, but timeline, man, acute withdrawal. The first day when my mom brought me to the hospital, I ended up going home. I just told you about that, but they gave me a Valium. That nurse that was in tears because she felt so bad, and it really did help, because at that point I was like, you know, day 1, coming off methadone, and all you hear, if you look up methadone withdrawal, like all you hear is horror stories. You know, stuff gets stored in your bones. Like, it's just the worst withdrawal of all withdrawal, pretty much. You know, that's what people say. The acute symptoms were really pretty. They're pretty rough at first, but it didn't really hit me, I want to say, till like day 16 or so was like when I peaked.
Okay.
Because I remember, like,
It takes a long time to come out, get out of
Yeah,
your
like
system.
day
Yeah.
like 6 through like 11, like I was on the pink cloud, man, and I was doing all kinds of things. I was going out playing disc golf, like just kind of like getting all my senses back, like, you know what I mean? Like everything
Yeah.
looked vibrant, music freaking came back, and like the way things smelled, the way things tasted, my diet was changing just on its own, and I was just like riding this pink cloud. And then, I'm like, oh, dude, I beat it. Like that wasn't so bad. And then all of a sudden, day 12, day 13 rolled around, and by that time you're tired because you just no sleep at all. Like, I mean, the
Yeah.
insomnia was unlike anything I'd ever experienced in my life, man. Just relentless insomnia, restless legs for the first, I'd say 3-4 weeks, maybe the first month.
Man.
But I remember I started seeing a girl like right when I started going back to work. So it was like 30 plus days into the detox. And I, in my head, I'm like, well, it's been over a month. Like I should be good. Like, so I'll start like dating this girl or whatever. And I was like staying at her house quite a bit. And I remember like I still wasn't sleeping, man, because like she'd be like sleeping beside me or whatever. And I'd just lay awake all night. You know what I mean? And then have to go out like with her the next day and her kid into like her kids' football games and stuff. And it's just like, and that relationship obviously didn't last because I was just not myself at all. Like as much as I thought I was like, I definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
And then I've just battled like the post-acute stuff, man. You'll hear people say this, dude, like post-acute withdrawal is so much worse than acute withdrawal. Like so freaking much worse, man. And that stuff lasted for over a year.
Wow.
Over a year, dude. Like I remember being like 4 or 5 months out, and like all of a sudden I just would get that insomnia back, and I wouldn't sleep for 3 or 4 days straight. You know what I mean? I'm back to work at this point, and I'm like, are you serious? And that's when it gets real hard because you're just so like
just
over
the way
it,
it just
man.
kicks
You
in.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Fuck,
Yeah.
I put so much into this. Like you just get so discouraged. Like, man, it's gonna last forever, and you really start thinking like, is my brain like permanently messed up? Like, am I ever gonna be normal? Like normal? I hate that word, but
yeah, that's where I really have a ton of respect for you for making it through that year as well. Because I think that you like you're saying, yeah, people always do think about the acutes and just getting through the sweats and the gory part, but man, the battle's day 98.
yes,
comes
sir.
out of the blue,
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
133 kicks you in the dick
and I
out of
don't want to
nowhere.
take anything away from acute withdrawal either. Acute withdrawal sucks. We all know it. Anybody that's ever been through it knows like acute withdrawal sucks.
Yeah.
But I mean, that only lasts like a week or two. Even at 2 weeks in physical acute withdrawal, I would much rather just do that than have to deal with the depression and the anxiety and the insomnia and the just lack of motivation, just not having any joy like whatsoever for a while. Like the only thing that would bring me out of it, I swear, man, was like music, dude. Like I carried around like one of those Bluetooth speakers with me for like a year and a half straight, bro. Like everywhere I went, I was like blasting Metallica or like Eminem or like something that would pump me up.
Yeah, man.
Like I'd randomly just start doing push-ups to like get some sort of endorphins going in my brain, because literally I would just get hit out of left field with just like this depressing, like this dark cloud, over me. And this was, after a year, up to a year and just over a year coming off of methadone, that I was still like not good, man. I started drinking a lot, like.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, and then, we could skip ahead a little bit, some ups and downs and all that stuff. And currently, just like as myself, I'm currently on Suboxone maintenance therapy. So are you? You're in the middle of taper, correct? I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, if me personally, it's like, this is where I struggle with. This is what I was really thinking the most about before today's episode. Like, do I want to get into this dosage crap at least for my own or anything, because, man, I'm just saying, yeah.
Oh, it's something you got to figure out for yourself.
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
Well, so I mean, yeah, that'll be your call if you want to get into the nitty gritty. But
yeah, I'm all about the nitty gritty, man.
Okay,
What do you
so
want to talk about?
do you want to get into how you found yourself back on maintenance this last go around? Are you willing
Sure.
to get into that? Or
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
I still have some of those videos too. I made a lot of them private after Rocco and Roberta passed away. But you know, I with the risk of sounding like I'm making up excuses, you know what I mean? But it was right when coronavirus hit, man, and the whole lockdown thing, and you know, I was working at a call center for a cell phone company at the time that all went down, and you know, that was kind of like my outlet, you know, to get out of the house, to get out of my own head, because that was, you know, that's where I was still at, like just in my head all the time, still depression and anxiety mostly. But that was like my outlet to go and be with my buddies and, you know, see people and socialize and get out of my own head. And when that went away, and you know, I had to start working from my kitchen table 10-hour days, like and my mom at the time was diagnosed with cervical cancer at the exact like same time, man. And you know, that was real difficult. She's fine today, thank God. Like she's good to go. But at the time, man, I'm like real close to my mom, and like it was just a lot, dude. I was already like kind of in a bad place, still like just still trying to figure out life clean. And we haven't really said it, but it was almost 3 years that I was completely clean, that I got off methadone. It was almost 3 years when I relapsed. But my first relapse when that all happened was Christmas Eve. I don't even remember the year. 2020, 2019.
Yeah, it'd be 2019. Yeah. Right before it hit the fan there.
Yeah. I was having a few beers and stopped over a buddy's house and ended up leaving there. And then I stopped at this house that I really shouldn't have ever stopped there. You know what I mean? Like I knew better just because of the people that hang out at that house. And I knew I shouldn't be there. Anyway, but drinking makes me do stupid things that aren't me, and like just completely changes me. So I stopped at that house, and they happened to be doing heroin, but it had fentanyl in it. And you know, I started doing opiates in the late 90s. You know, I'm 41 today, and it was like I never really experienced fentanyl before. And this is now, I've been clean for 3 years. But my addict brain I didn't really think of that, especially when I was drinking. I'm like,
yeah,
you know, like it was just I just asked them basically, I'm like, can I just have like a little bump is what we call it here. Just like a little, you know, not a line of it or whatever. I never injected heroin in my life or anything. I never put needles in my arm, thank God. But I just asked them for a little bump. And they were even hesitant, you know, these are like, we're hardcore addicts too. And they were even hesitant because they knew I was clean, and they're like, dude, like really, you know, because they love me, and they don't want to see me do it. But at the same time, like they love me. And like, if I ask for something, they're going to help me out.
Yeah.
So they ended up giving me a little bump. And I just remember sitting at the kitchen table, and my buddy Corey's across from me. And I remember him like, just kept asking me like, you all right? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. But I was just like dripping sweat, dude. Like,
oh man,
dripping sweat. So that heroin had fentanyl in it. And I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I got up. That's like all I remember. I don't even remember getting inside the bathroom. And then I remember waking up, coming to like in the driveway. You know, December. I live in Maine, so in December it's cold as the welder's ass up here. So they brought me outside, and they didn't have to Narcan me or anything. They had Narcan, but they didn't Narcan me. I was breathing and all that. But man, so that scared the shit out of me, to say the least, you know. And it really just upset me, because I woke up the next day kind of like coming out of an alcohol blackout, but like remembering like, did that really happen last night? You know what I mean? Like, did that shit really happen? And then I started coming to, and I'm like, wow, it really did happen.
Yeah.
And then after that, I didn't use again for probably another 6 months. And then that same Corey kid that was there that night, like, just locked down and all of it. Just I got bored and complacent. I wasn't working my recovery at all. Like, I kind of drifted away from the recovery community, and like, that's just, you got to work your recovery, no matter if you think you got it in the bag or not. If it's been 3 years, if it's been 10 years, if it's been 40 years, man, you still have to work your recovery and keep it in the forefront of your life.
Yeah.
And I got complacent and started using a little bit here, a little bit there. That turned into, like, getting more at once and then using for several days in a row.
Yeah.
And then it was just that fear, man, like, remembering the misery of the methadone withdrawal and, like, just the fear of that, going through that again. Like, and I didn't want to die at the same time. So I knew I had to get off the heroin and the fentanyl, you know what I mean? I'm like, that wasn't an option. So I ended up getting, like, some Suboxone, because I've been on Suboxone in the past. I think we'll get into that later. But so, like, I knew Suboxone, I was okay with that. And I ended up taking, like, I was laying in bed, I had to work the next day, and I didn't have any heroin, fentanyl, whatever you want to call it, left. So I put, like, a half an 8 milligram strip of Suboxone on my tongue. I laid my head down and woke up, like, I don't know how, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, like, in precipitated withdrawal. I didn't know anything about. I didn't know the whole thing was Suboxone. And if you're on hardcore, like, fentanyl opiates and you take Suboxone, it can throw you into precipitated withdrawal. And that's like the worst withdrawal you've ever been in times 100.
Yeah, I've experienced it, unfortunately.
Yeah. And that was absolutely terrible.
I felt like, did you feel it like the wave go through your body? I felt it almost going through my veins throughout my body. Like, I felt it, like, it was like from a Matrix,
I woke up to it because, like, I was asleep and I had to get up in, like, 3 or 4 hours for work. And I was asleep and I woke up because usually I'll take, my dose of maintenance or whatever before I have to go to work. I take it in the morning. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to take this. I'll get up for work in a couple hours. I'll be fine. So I went back to sleep until it hit, you know what I mean? So I drifted back to sleep and then it just woke me up. And dude, I was like, I mean, I've never sweat so much in my life. Like, my bed was soaking wet. My pillows were soaking wet. I could actually feel it was dripping into my eyes, like into my ears, bro. Like, I was freezing cold, like, sweating like a pig, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just call it like a cycle of terror. It's like it was this cycle of, like, this buildup of heat, and you're sweating, and it feels like you're tortured. I felt like I had, like, a hot poker up my ass. I felt like I was gonna throw up, and then eventually it's like the fever broke, boom, and then you'd be freezing cold and sweating, and then you'd get, like, literally 20 seconds of relief. And you'd be like, and then the fever starts building back up again. And it was just that for like 30 hours straight. It was just that over and over.
I literally crawled out of my bed because I was soaking wet, bro. Like, I mean, like, somebody dumped a bucket of water over me. I crawled from my bed to my bathroom, and like, crawled into the shower to try to get some warm water because I was freezing. And then, I'm, like, calling my dope dealer, dude, like, leaving a message, like, 3 o'clock in the morning and stuff, I'm, like, freaking out. I'm like, I just needed to get out of that. Like, it was bad. And I did end up actually hooking up that morning, like, hours later. So I had to suffer for, like, 6 hours in precipitated withdrawal, but ended up hooking up. And the funny thing was, because I had taken that, well, I won't say funny, but because I had taken that Suboxone strip, it blocked the fentanyl, so, like, there was no relief. Like,
you're in it.
Like,
once you're in it, you're in it. Yep.
Like, I'm so screwed.
Yep. You're counting down the hours of half-life of naloxone. You're, like, looking up, what is the half-life of naloxone? What's the half-life of naloxone? Well, for me, you're right. I was on naltrexone. I'm sorry. That's what threw me into precipitated. So for you it was the Suboxone or whatever. So you're looking up the half-life or whatever. Like, just in a panic.
Because a lot of people think it's the naloxone that does that. That'll throw you into precipitated withdrawal. Because
I was thinking of the guy.
But it doesn't. Naloxone doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
Naloxone's only in Suboxone so that people won't shoot it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason it's in there. That's not what causes it. The thing that causes it is that buprenorphine attaches to the opiate receptors so hard. It's such a strong bond that it just rips anything else that are on your opiate receptors off.
Yeah.
But it's not a full agonist opiate like fentanyl is. It's a partial agonist. So it doesn't completely, you know what I mean? It binds to it, but it doesn't completely satisfy that receptor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's only a partial. So you get
and it's highly attracted to it's highly attracted too.
Yeah, it rips everything else off the receptor.
It's
says you're nothing. I'm buprenorphine. This is mine.
Yeah.
But it doesn't completely, satisfy that receptor like a full agonist, the fentanyl that was there before.
You're still
nightmare.
Yeah,
for anybody out there that's thinking about getting on Suboxone, buprenorphine, like make sure that you are in complete and total withdrawal. They say you should go 3 to 4 days in withdrawal before you start your buprenorphine.
Yeah.
To avoid it. And trust me, you want to avoid it.
I just looked up the half-life of because I know the naloxone half-life is extremely short, and it says 30 to 80 minutes, and the plasma half-life is 1 to 2 hours. So it's like there's no half-life really on the naloxone itself, and you're right. It's just so you don't bang it. But yeah, man, and precipitated withdrawals. That's it is like the lesson of all lessons in acceptance, and just that acceptance. Because you're on the ride, and it's not, you don't get to decide anymore when this ride is gonna stop, and so
it's complete horror, man. Like I had suicidal thoughts, like the whole 9 yards during that, 100%. And I don't usually have those kind of thoughts, but it was that bad.
Yeah. So after you got through that, what happened after you got through that?
So I basically, after that, I got on a live stream with Rock and Roberta, actually.
I watched that one. I watched that one.
Yeah.
I think I was in it. I might have been in it.
Yeah, she always had my back, man. Like, she knew I needed to get on and talk about it, and it was the right thing to do, to everybody who knew who I was and who had watched me for years. And, I owed them that to let people know what was actually going on. And so I got on that live stream, and then she kind of told me, and talked me into, I won't say she talked me into it, but she made me feel okay with talking to a Suboxone doctor again, and getting back on maintenance.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, not getting it from friends or whatever. And so I ended up making a call, I think the next morning, and somebody at my local hospital got me right in the next morning, and I talked to the doctor that morning and got my prescription for Subutex. And
if I remember right, did you tell me you ran it? That doctor was really cool.
Oh, she was an absolute
she was an amazing doctor. I remember you saying something like that.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you were hurting, and she was there to help you. Obviously.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, man. Because in my experience with getting into a place like that, it's get put on a wait list. It's never like you call when you really need help, and it's usually okay, well, we understand, but we can't get you into next month or something. And it does you absolutely no good, because by the time that date comes around, you're already either, homeless or, dead, or, what I mean? Yeah. It really needs to be instantaneous, with that kind of thing. I believe if somebody calls and they're in the position that I was in right then, I feel like they got to do more to get people right in. But the girl that I talked to, she's she was great, man.
Yeah.
No, she's can you get here tomorrow? She's are you okay to drive? And I'm yeah, I'm okay to drive. And she's well, we'll get you in first thing in the morning. Yeah, they got me in, and
that's great.
Talked to the doctor, told him the story, what was going on, and got put it back on. was in there for 2 years, and just recently I went, tried to jump off Suboxone again because I definitely want to be clean again, or I don't like to use that word either, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but I want to be off the maintenance medication again, and I just went 6 days without it and found out that I definitely didn't plan enough because there was no way I was gonna get up at 3:30 in the morning to go to work and hold my job, and I'm not in a position to lose it. So I ended up getting back on I'm about like between 0.25 and a milligram a day right now.
Okay.
And
what did you try doing before? Did you try to do like a real rapid taper before jumping, or what did you try to do before?
I tapered down like in, I don't know, like 4 months, I would say. I started
okay.
And through about 4 months I tapered down from about 16 milligrams to 0.25 milligrams.
Yeah, that's good.
And, I was on 0.25, I would say, for a month and a half, 2 months before I jumped off.
All right.
And the withdrawal was very manageable, man, other than, crappy sleep, which is always like, that's always a thing in withdrawal. Like, that's the one, like, constant, like, never gonna change. So that, and just being super, like, your body's, like I say, your body's doing so much behind the scenes. Like, even if you're relaxing, like, you know what I mean? Like, your body's still going through so much trying to heal itself. And I was just so exhausted, man. And I'm like, there's no way. Like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to work. I knew it night of day 5, day 6, and I'm like,
yeah.
And I cracked, and I had to suck it up and go back on a low dose until I can save up enough time off to do it right.
Yeah.
You gotta plan for it. And that was just me jumping the gun. Like, that's how bad I want it, though. Like, I really, really want it. Yeah. Bad enough to go 6 days in withdrawal.
Well, yeah, that's not, that ain't nothing, man. Yeah. But in your experience, so then so this will be your first time really coming off of Suboxone then?
No.
Oh, no? Or
no.
That wasn't like long term. You were on it long term, or
yes. So okay, so just a history in like a short of a time as I can make it.
Okay.
I started doing opiates when I was in high school, before anybody knew what they were. OxyContin came to town, and this was late 90s. I graduated in 2001, so this was like 98, 99, 2000, right around in there. Found out the hard way that it was addictive, when we couldn't get it, and all my friends and I were like super sick, and started stealing stuff and got caught stealing from a store that I worked at, that my mom worked at, got caught stealing money out of the safe, like the whole bull crap that we all do.
Typical stuff.
Yeah. And I just, I got morals, man. And I'm like, I couldn't see like myself having that life. So I knew I had to make a drastic change. And that's when I joined the military. I'm like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of this town, or I'm going
to,
end up in jail or dead or something. I had already lost a few friends to overdoses. And so I joined the Navy, and went off and did that for 4 years overseas, and, enjoyed that or whatever. Got out 2007. My girlfriend from the Navy was from Detroit, Michigan. So I moved up to Michigan. And when I came back originally from the Navy, I was drinking a lot in the Navy. So I never drank really before I joined the military. But once I was an addict when I joined the Navy, and then like I couldn't use when I was in the Navy. So I just switched to alcohol. But I would, just like my addict mindset, I'd black out every time I drank. So I ended up like self-referring myself to alcohol treatment in the military. And the first time I got sent from Greece, where I was stationed, to Sigonella, Sicily. And I went to alcohol rehab in Sicily for a week. and I didn't take it seriously. I kind of just, I don't know, I was young and in the Navy, and you know, I just, even though I self-referred myself, I was drinking while I was there. You know what I mean? I would just go off base that at night when I wasn't supposed to, and like get screwed up, and you know, I just wasn't taking it seriously. And then I got stationed in Italy after that. After Greece, I left and went to Sigonella, Naples, Italy, and there I ended up getting in trouble. I don't remember exactly what happened, but something happened and alcohol was involved. In the military, they call it ARI, alcohol-related incident. They looked at my past and I got sent again, but this time I got sent from Naples, Italy to Jacksonville, Florida. They flew me all the way from Italy to the States, to a lockdown facility, like, you know what I mean? No mouthwash, like high level alarms on our doors and windows type place for a month, dude, like a month. And that was the first time I ever went to AA in Jacksonville. We'd go out, the base would bring us out to civilian AA meetings. And that was the first time I really got introduced to the recovery community. But anyway, so I got out of the Navy, started like drinking again around here, but in Maine, like you have to drive 100 miles to go to like one of your friends' houses. So it's not like living on base where like the party's next door in the barracks all the time, you know? So I had a real hard time adapting to civilian life. And, you know, that's a whole nother video, but I ended up going to the VA hospital, and getting put on Suboxone because I started using opiates again, because at least if I was doing pills, I could drive and go see my friends and stuff. You know, alcohol for me was like, I couldn't do what I wanted to do when I was drinking because I couldn't drive. So I'm like, okay, then I'll start doing pills again like an idiot. And ended up getting on Suboxone through the VA clinic. And this was back in 2007. And then I was on it for like, I don't know, maybe a year. And then she wanted me to fly back to Italy. So I flew back to Italy for a couple months. And so that was like the first time I came off Suboxone. And that wasn't so bad because I was away from it and I knew I couldn't get it. It wasn't an option. And that's always easier mentally for some reason. Plus I really wanted to be with my girl, you know what I mean? So I was like, all right, whatever. But I wasn't on it for that long. And then she got out quite a while after I did. So I came back. I flew out to Italy, stayed with her for a little bit, came back to Maine, got back into the VA Suboxone clinic. And then she came home, and then I had to move to Detroit. She wanted me to move out there. And again, I had to come off Suboxone because I couldn't get it in Michigan, or at least, you know, there's no way I could have let her know that I was on it. So like I had to just let it go. Yeah, that was pretty rough. I remember that one was pretty rough.
So were these like kind of like chunks of like time of like kind of like being on it for like 3 months like at a time and then coming off, or like what were these kind of like chunks of time and then coming off?
Well, I'd say the last time was well, when I was living in Detroit, I was going to college, and some kid in my English class, he came in with his book bag, and I could hear addict, right? I could hear pills in his book bag. You know, I could hear him like in his bottle.
That's funny.
So we went out to the smoke deck to have a cigarette on break, and I asked him about it. I'm like, what do you got for pills? You know, and he's like, oh, I got Dilaudid, I think it was. And I'm like, can I get a couple? Like, he's like, yeah, dude, I get them all the time because he had some back condition or whatever. And that was the end of it, man. That was started there, and then I met a girl that I worked with that could get me a script of Suboxone because I was trying to keep a relationship together, so I couldn't be going out getting pills all the time and spending all my money because my girlfriend would know. So I was like, fuck it, you know, I'll buy a script of Suboxone every month and, you know, try to keep it on the down low. But she eventually found out and, kind of ruined that relationship. And I moved back to Maine and got back into the VA Suboxone clinic. And this time I was on it from 2008 to like 2014.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So quite a while. And then I got kicked out for smoking weed. The VA kicked me out of, opiate addict, right?
Yeah.
Completely honest with them, telling them like I've smoked weed my entire life. Like it's not a problem for me, like whatever.
Yeah.
Went through like 3 doctors. The first 2 were fine with it. And then the last one that came in just wasn't having it and threatened me. Like she kept threatening me, like if you pop on a piss test again, like we're going to kick you out. And so the last piss test I did, like I dunked the shit in the toilet, like I knew like they were going to know, but
yeah.
So they put down that I tampered with a UA and like I can never go back to the VA. Will never take me back as a patient. So
no kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
But then I went into the methadone clinic from there.
Oh, that's how you ended up on methadone. You jumped from the Suboxone to methadone
because I got kicked out of the Suboxone clinic
pretty quickly after you went to methadone after.
Suboxone? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was within a couple weeks, so I was just buying whatever I could get my hands on in the meantime to not be sick.
So yeah.
Methadone clinic.
Well, so yeah, you've been through it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a lifelong battle for me. I started that first line I did, man. I still remember it to this day. I remember where I was at, like walking in, seeing all my friends like nodding out. Like, of course, I didn't know what it was at the time, right? So and I was a pothead. We were all, hippie, fun-loving potheads, and I'm like, man, what are you guys on? Like, and like, oh, it's like this pill or whatever. Like, you want some? Like, yeah, of course I do. And then I fell in love, man. That first line, I was like, ooh.
Well, for me,
social. We had this conversation on the phone. Like, I have really bad social anxiety, man. Like, I'm not comfortable around people.
Yeah.
And like opiates, for whatever reason, like made me feel more comfortable, like almost like alcohol does for people, like liquid courage.
Yeah.
That's what opiates did for me because I didn't like to drink. Drinking makes me feel outside of myself too much. So at least with opiates, I kind of felt more myself.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
I did have that moment moments where I really did believe opiates fixed me. Like they were what was missing.
Yeah.
And I was completely clueless about it. This all came through my family, unfortunately. And my mom was getting those like barrels, those 90 pill barrels and 120 pills barrels of, she was getting 10 milligram Norcos and then, 2 milligrams Xanax and all that stuff. And she was getting such large amounts that she couldn't keep track of it. And so, and it was actually, I wouldn't have had a clue what it was, except for, unfortunately, she introduced me to it. I had stomach cramps one morning before school. I was having just real painful stomach aches, and I ended up missing school. And she ended up handing me a pill and saying like, here, these help my stomach too. And so then I took it, and I remember going outside. At this point, I was already a cigarette smoker. I'm like, if I was 14, 15, I go outside to smoke a cigarette. And I remember having to crawl back into the house. I had to crawl back into the house.
Yeah.
Because I was gone. And me and my sister would just take handfuls of these and just go to parties and just hand them out, the bananas and all that stuff. And then we always laughed, because 10, 15 years later, like we handed out thousands of dollars worth of just free medication. Cause it was just a party thing for us. But then eventually it did. I really, in my heart of hearts, believe this thing fixes me. If I could just get a steady supply of this, I would be okay.
Right. Yeah. How many times have we thought that? If I could just have it and not have to worry about not having it, then yeah.
But then the answer to that I learned was Kratom. Kratom is, in Illinois, it's legal and it's everywhere. So it was me getting to experience unlimited opiates, and it's not good.
Thank God it's not like a big thing here.
Yeah,
I've never done it. I know I would have, but thankfully it just never was around it.
it's
That would be frightening, man, to be like, oh, I could buy this at the gas station, man. Like,
oh yeah, and you can just it's not like
alcohol.
yeah, and it's not like dispensaries or anything where it has to be cash. You could just keep running up credit cards all day, you know what I mean? So and then especially with the shots now, and they're getting more and more concentrated. When I was pulling up the tabs and looking up some of the stuff for the Feel Free video I made, I saw a shot that had 150 milligrams of concentrated kratom, which I'm sure you know, but that it's just a stupid amount.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna take it and you're gonna barf and you're gonna spin for 4 hours. Like, but
Unreal.
yeah, but yeah, it's getting a little out of hand, and I have a feeling. Well, I don't know if I want to say it publicly or not, but it's gonna always be. The DEA is always going to be keeping an eye on it. I'm sure, they're always going to be kind of wondering what's going on with it. And
I feel like at some point they're going to be like, they'll probably take it off the market.
Yeah, maybe.
Just like the synthetic marijuana, like all that stuff. At first, it was everywhere, and then they started seeing all these people that were all spiced out of it. And I was a correctional officer for years. Worked at a prison and worked at a county jail, and man, I've seen some people that were like unrecoverably like messed up from spice, man.
Oh yeah.
That stuff was everywhere, and finally they kind of put their foot down because they couldn't, they didn't have any control over what was in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank God I've never stumbled across that, because back in my day I would have been stupid enough to try, because it seems like I've watched a couple of documentaries on it, and it seems like people that are addicted to it hate it. And they can't stop, it looks like an absolutely miserable
like
experience,
opiates, man. I fucking hate opiates.
Well, yeah, but it's also like you're not, well, maybe you did, I don't know your whole history, but it's, you weren't falling asleep standing on the bus bench either, you know what I mean? Or crawling up the trees and, whatever.
Yeah. No, it's a whole, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
I'd say when I started using opiates, I loved them, but not like the last couple decades.
No.
Not even when I relapsed, I hated it. The whole, like, the way it made me feel, and not beyond like the mental aspect of like I relapsed and like how mad at myself I was for that, but just physically, like I'm like, oh, why did I do this? Like I freaking hate this feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like all weighed down, like all foggy, and I'm like, ugh.
You just feel that fuzz come over your eyes.
Like
it's just like a wall, like you're looking through a wall sock.
Feel good one time. Like, honest to God, I'm like, I don't like this. I don't know why I'm doing
this. That's how I ended up in precipitated withdrawals myself, was because after being off kratom for a week, I slipped up. And it was the first time in forever I actually felt that good warm feeling again, like the warmness come over my body. And I ran into my room and I grabbed an naltrexone. And within about 15 minutes, I just felt it like spread throughout my body. Like I literally felt like, like it, I don't know, like I was blowing fire out of my ass, and like it was just awful. Yeah, and then
so you had that from kratom?
Kratom, man.
No kidding.
Yeah, but it was years and years of abuse of those receptors being piled on, and here comes naltrexone and makes them real clean. Like it's like
right.
It's like it's like bleaches it's like bleaching the receptors or something. But
is this the first time you've been on maintenance?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it was something. Man, my parents were on it for a long time, and I think my dad, I don't know if my dad still is, but I know my mom was, and it was something I really judged them for a long time, and now I really wish I didn't, because it took me kind of a while to understand, and for where I was at, and I know the people that watch this channel and stuff, wish they wanted to see me just really kind of stick it out and go, just be 100% clean, and man, I'll tell you, I wish I was myself, but for what I was doing with that yo-yoing up and down with the relapsing and then binging and then detoxing and then Yeah, and then it's, then you would start to get mad at yourself, so then it escalates, then you're in real fucking mode, so you're like, I was buying 5 shots a day, and then you paint yourself into such a bad corner that you can't go 4 hours, without feeling like shit, and then at least the options that I reached out to locally, they all dangled detox centers over my head to induce on Suboxone, which I understand. Maybe some people's concerns, maybe they think like, hey, well, to do it right, it should be done under a doctor's care. And I guess that is true, but you know what? I don't have $3,000 out of pocket to just get a prescription, and basically do a 48-hour or 24-hour kind of, kind of event.
Right.
And so, I was able to find another way of going, which has worked really well for me, which is a healthcare service that specializes in an opiate abuse. Yeah.
Just a couple days ago.
Yeah, and honestly, I was a little worried at first. Was I going to regret this and all this kind of stuff? And honestly, like I'm very glad I did it. I'm very glad I did it. It gave me, and it's coming, I think, just up on a year now, exactly a year. It gave me basically a whole year of this free space in my level stability, and then just free space in my head finally to just take care of my family and actually, plan my life accordingly instead of just always worrying about, when I was going to run out of something or, what the next move was, or looking at my credit card bills going, hey, I'm secretly tanking my family. Right. I wonder when the wife will find out, it's just kind of,
I think you are like that terror, man, of being in that position and thinking you're going to run out or something. Like, I know for me, I will literally do anything, man. Like I've like traded like brand new hunting rifles for like a single pill before, like just ridiculous things just to, you know what I mean? Just because like that yo-yoing, like you're talking about, like it's dangerous, man.
Yeah.
Dangerous. And it's no good. That's why Rock and Roberta ended up, after over a year off maintenance, like she ended up getting back on a low dose Suboxone because, and that's what she told me. She's like, I was just not in a good place. She's like, I gave it time, and she did, and she earned it. And she felt like I never really recovered. I was relapsing. I remember God love her, because she would always post, her crying in bed, like, having a meltdown because she's in withdrawal after using pills for a few days. But she would always post that stuff. And I was just admired that so much, or just brutal honesty and willingness to show, like, the good and the bad. But she would say the same thing, man. Like, I just wasn't good, and I need to be, consistent. Like, I need this consistency in my life and this stable, the stable atmosphere, or whatever you want to call it. But that makes a lot of sense.
And it's funny, and it's hilarious, because you know why I was gonna go broke? Because simply I just didn't want to do it openly. I was risking going broke just because I didn't want to just be like, sorry, honey, but I'm doing Kratom now.
Yeah.
Seriously. Because if you want to do it out in the open, you can go get a kilo, literally 1,000 grams for $80 I could have gotten. Instead I was, buying bottles $20 at a time and all stuff, running up credit cards. And it was all just for the fact of I just didn't want to say, sorry, honey, but I'm going to do Kratom for a little while. That's just what that's in my heart to do right now. I'm sorry, it sucks. It's just kind of hilarious. But and it's and I've read that 100 times on the subreddits and all that stuff. Don't go broke, doing Kratom. It's stupid. It's like, it absolutely is. It's one of the dumbest things you could do. And I was on my way to do it. I was on my way to do it.
What do you see as some pros to like maintenance medication? I mean, you're fairly new to maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've been less than a year, right?
Yeah. Well, just I think just exactly a year right now. I think
About a year.
this month. Yeah. So.
So
Well,
yeah, I mean, you just mentioned a couple, but
I was able, and in if anybody ever wants to know that this healthcare service that we're using, you know, you can reach out to me. Hey,
Yep.
Jenny, what's up? You could always reach out to me, and we'll happily let you know. But I was very lucky to fall in with the service that has been very consistent, has not been any headaches. There hasn't been any last day of the script. What am I going to do? So thankfully, it's been very, very convenient, very consistent. And so that, you know, obviously that's making my life consistent and stable and all that. But
I found that in Suboxone treatment as a whole, like over methadone, as I talked about earlier, like they just want to keep you in there and up your dose. If you ever even hinted at getting off it, they would do whatever they could to keep you in there. But I've found with every Suboxone doctor I've ever had that they will listen to you. And if you tell them like, I want to taper, you know, they're going to, for me, as you know, and anybody that's watched me over the years, like knows, like I'm pretty gung ho when I set my mind to something, but even with me, they'll be like, so they'll slow me down, you know, like, okay,
Yeah.
you want to take, I know you want to get off it, but Shane, you need to like chill. Like, we can do this, but we're going to set a plan and it's not going to be as fast as you want, but they're willing to taper you down and give you comfort meds, you know, like clonidine or whatever it is when you're actually getting ready to jump off. And I find that they're a lot more open to work with the patient and listen to the patient than methadone is just a whole different ballgame. But that's and not having to go to the clinic, you know, every day. With Suboxone, like if you have to choose between methadone, so like I'm sure they both have pros and cons for certain people and certain lifestyles, but for me at least, it's definitely more pros to Suboxone than to methadone in my experience, at least. For sure. But I think also with me, you know, same as you, like it gave me that stability, man. It let me keep a job. Like when I was using street drugs or whatever, like I couldn't keep a job. I'd get it, you know, I always worked, but I'd go from job to job to job to job, you know, like because I'd call out if I couldn't get anything, like I wasn't going to go through withdrawal at work. Like I'd just call out, lose my job. So Suboxone gave me that stability. I've always taken it as prescribed under the tongue. And I think that's key because some people, you know, if you get the tablets, some people snort it, or, you know, in the prisons, the inmates were actually booting it, like it, and some people do that. But I think taking it orally under the tongue tastes like crap. You know what I mean? So it's not. There's no enjoyment in that taking the dose, and I think that helps a lot. Gives you a chance to get away from the crowd of people, like at the methadone clinic. Again, you're around that crowd of people in recovery that are selling drugs in the parking lot, but you don't have to be around that in the Suboxone you know, world. So it gives you that I guess responsibility at the same time too, you know. It's your medication. You take it when you want to take it, and gives you that control, so you can start, you know, building those blocks in your head to, you know, kind of take your life back a little bit. Because going through withdrawal and trying to make it, you know, 6 months of post-acute withdrawal and all of that, if your life's shit, if you've lost your job and you don't have a place to live, and you know what I mean, you can't eat like that, you're not going to make it. You really need to get your life on track so you can plan out your you know, if you get off the medication, if that's what you want to do, to get that all in line, and, you know, just getting out of that addict lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely.
It's huge.
So say hi to Jenny Cakes. I don't know.
Jenny Cakes.
Yeah.
I love Jenny Cakes.
Yeah.
Man.
It's good seeing you.
She's the best.
But
Jenny.
And that was like you brought it up as far as like, yeah, then and for me that was a very much a learning experience to just be handed the boxes of medication and say, okay, this is on you now.
Yeah.
And early on it was, it was a learning curve. And also it was just a learning curve and just the, like we talked, the mechanics of the medication, how to take it, when to take it, what's just going to work best for you. And then basically learning how to kind of be on a schedule and keep that consistent. It was a huge learning curve. And what I always, and then mentally too, where I kind of I didn't prepare myself, and I talked about it in my one video. And like the Indiana Jones scene where he's got he's going for the treasure, the chalice or whatever, and he's got the bag of sand, and he's gonna swap the bag of sand.
Oh yeah.
So that the trap doesn't notice the weight's gone. Yeah. But even though he did that, it still noticed the difference. And in my mind, I thought I was trying to do that. I was just trying to swap the bag over and then go about my life. You know what I mean? And still not change anything about me. But
yeah,
that ball still came rolling down, and I still had a whole new challenge I had to face. I still had recovery to work. I still had I had to get my head out of my ass and, start working something. No medication is going to fix your life. Ever.
Dude, I was just thinking, I was looking for a pen to write it down because it's like when I got clean, from methadone, like when I got off methadone, I like had that thought in my mind, like, okay, once I'm clean, like everything's just going to fall into place, man. Like my life's going to get better. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't work that way, man. It just doesn't. It just doesn't work that way. Like, yes, being, not having to take medication is a great thing. And and I'm telling you, in my experience, at least, like Suboxone does make me a different person. It does numb a lot of things in my life.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And, once you try coming off the meds, like you'll understand. You understand anyway, because you've been through withdrawal and things like that. But, yeah, man, it's,
and I've had there's been side effects, and I happened to try out Suboxone right as we were trying to have a baby. So as we've been in baby making. So just to say, I've had to find a doctor for some other help too, which I've never needed in my entire life.
Yeah, on lower doses that does get better. By the way.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, and it's
I know
been okay.
what you mean. Yeah.
But but overall, learning how to manage it, and then I found it, and I've been very lucky to stumble into a good doctor, a good practitioner here too. That I've learned if I'm open with her, it all works and it gets better. If I really tell her what I'm doing and how I've been taking it and all that kind of stuff, even if she looks at me of like, no, don't do that. Like, no, what are you doing? Like, no, just take it this way. Or if, like you said, you mentioned it earlier, because I am about to start a taper here. And I did try to attempt to taper a few months ago, and then when went through everything with my mother and everything, unfortunately, and I made it a couple days, and I was just irritable, and I was waking up a couple times, and eventually after a couple days, I was like, screw it, I just went back to what I was, and so the next day, next appointment, I told her, and she's just like, hey, you weren't ready. Tell me, we'll try it again. Let me know. When you want to go again.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
As long as you're trying, and it's they can see that, like, that you're taking it seriously, and that because some people are just content with, they'll just submit, like, oh, I'm gonna be on this for the rest of my life. Maybe I will be.
Yeah.
Maybe I will be. You know what I mean? But I don't think so, and I'm not willing to accept that right now, and I'm gonna keep fighting, and recovery is something. Whether you're on maintenance or you're not on maintenance, it's something that you have to live as an addict. Like it's a part of you.
Yeah.
Even when you're clean, if you got 20 years clean, man, you're like, I've always picture. I always think like I'm still an addict.
Yeah. Well,
you know, it's something that we will always have to deal with for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. Have you seen
On
that?
our meds.
I'm not sure if he's still doing videos, but I know he was. Have you seen that Dr. B? He was kind of introduced by Derek Lambert. Yeah,
Nicole.
Yeah, he changed that Dr. B, he changed my mind quite a bit on maintenance. And it was just like how, a matter of fact, he was like speaking of like, would you, basically you want to go down in flames, trying your hardest, going for the glory, you know what I mean? Going for the glory quit and going for the glory sobriety when you're not ready, or maybe something's not right,
Right.
You want to keep going down in flames, doing that, fine, and that's kind of like, I was really starting to relate to a lot of kind of what he was saying.
I also think though, if you feel like, when you get to that place, like I talked about earlier, like everybody's different. I say it a million times. I'll say it again. Everybody's different. Some people will be on it for the rest of their life. Some people it doesn't affect like it affects me, but for me, it does have a negative effect. And, I eventually do want to get off it. And when I feel like I want to try it, if I go 6 days and then I go down in flames and, looking for that glory, then, I know what the glory is. And,
well, I don't mean just so much like just to be clear, when I mean like the glory and going down in flames, I mean like, missing work and stuff and possibly losing your job and having disruptions in your life, not being able to function in your life because, you're trying to muscle it all on your own, and you run into that point where eventually, it's like, you could lose your job.
I've done, I've been down that path plenty of times too. And, learned over the years that it just doesn't work.
Yeah,
this doesn't work. Things get way worse when you end up doing that, because then now you don't have a job.
Yeah.
Now you don't have a job and you're still in the same position that you were in.
So, So I mean, like, kind of that's kind of what I meant, like, as far as that kind of yo-yo up and down. It's just when you start running, and this is what Dr. B was talking about, the country, when you're in those situations where it's like, I was just screwing around with Kratom, but when you're in those situations, when your life has become so negatively affected that, like, you could, I ran up a massive credit card bill. Like, I would be kind of up and down. So, maybe some days I'd perform very well. Other days I'd be sluggish as crap, or I'd call off the next day just to lay in bed because, whatever, I took too much in the morning and got the spins, couldn't go into work, And so it's just like, when it's at that point where your life is not functioning, and I have a wife and a child, so it's not just me anymore. Like, hey, if I end up at the sleeping at the Greyhound station, who gives a shit? But this is different now. So like, when you're dealing with all that, this could be a viable option, as far as maintenance or whatever, when you are struggling like that.
100%. 100%.
So, and I have the same plan that, like, I prefer to feel life, raw and raw, and so that's my plan is to get there one day, and it's gonna happen. I believe it'll happen, and it's gonna happen in its own time, And I'm not in a race, and
you can't rush it. You can't rush it.
Yeah, so
you'll know when it's time, and when it's time, you'll do it.
Yeah.
That's the only time it's going to work. When you want it. You can't do it for somebody else, You can't, I mean, people get locked up in jail. Addicts get locked up in jail for 4 or 5, 6 months. Get clean, get out first day, they go right back to using.
Yep. And a lot of those guys are dying right now.
They didn't want to get clean. They just happened to get locked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are a lot of guys that are dying now, unfortunately.
Yeah,
the guys that are coming out of the 7-day detoxes and running back out, those are guys that are
it's scary out there right now, man. It's not like anything I dealt with. Like, thank God, because I sure as hell wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
Yeah. Well, man,
I first running with fentanyl, I almost died. The first time I ever tried it.
Did you have any close calls, near overdoses after that as well?
No, I never had a close call with an overdose ever.
Really?
until that time.
Really?
Yep, never.
Oh, man.
And never since.
Well, somebody's watching out for you, man.
Yeah.
Really. That's something really to be fucking grateful for, because I don't think there's I don't know anybody that could touch fentanyl consistently and say that, you know, I never had to at least be kind of, have your buddy give you the rib rub once in a while, you know what I mean, or something.
Well, like I said too, I've never put needles in my arm. Just, I don't know, it was just a line. It wasn't because I felt I was too good for that, or it wasn't anything like that. It was just, I just couldn't bring myself to ever do it. Just for whatever reason, my own reason, way I was, I don't know, but I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But you know, I think because of that, like, I didn't use fentanyl for all that long before I got back on Suboxone, because it scared the crap out of me. But when I would get it, of course, the first time I tried it, like I said, I overdosed and almost died. So after that, I was very, very careful. Like, I would only snort it, and I would start with a very, very small amount, and then kind of like work my way into it. Because I was scared to death, man. Like, but the whole time I was just petrified. I was terrified the entire time, like terrified. Like, I could freaking die.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't matter even if it is just a little amount. If you get the wrong bag, man.
Yeah, well,
I always use it alone. Nobody, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't using with other people, so I would be here by myself, and they, you know, nobody would find me until they found me.
Dude.
So scary, scary.
I am very, very thankful you made it through that, Shane.
Oh, thanks. So am I, man. Imagine that it was Christmas Eve too. That would have been great for my family.
Fuck.
That would have been a hell of a Christmas morning.
Oh yeah, shit, man.
But yeah.
Well, you still got something to do here. I think. Yeah. I really do think so. And
I must.
And on that note, man, I think I want to thank you again for being here.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for all your wisdom and all. I don't know, man. Just thank you for everything throughout the years. And I don't think this is going to be the last time we'll do this. We'll come up with some specific topics maybe in the future. And hopefully try and do it again.
Absolutely, 100%.
And I don't know if this is Jenny still hanging out with us, but thanks for sticking with us. If this is Jenny.
Yeah, thanks.
I don't know. I'll end the way I always end it. Love you guys, right?
All right, love you guys.
Peace.